Optimizing my sleep routine. It's something that I've been working on for quite some time. Quite a lot of autistic people struggle with sleep and sleep-related things, and it can make a huge difference in terms of avoiding burnout and improving general quality of life. Hi everyone, Paul Mikulev here from Autism from the Inside. I make weekly videos sharing the human side of autism, so make sure you hit subscribe to get the latest content. So this is a bit of an update video. I've been consciously working on improving my sleep routine for about 2 years now. I've been reading up about sleep as much as I can. I'm using a sleep tracker to run experiments on myself and see what the data looks like. And recently, I've finally found a combination of factors that are working really, really well for me. You may have seen the first video I released on this about 1.5 years ago, sharing some early insights I'd gained so far. So let's see what stuck and what didn't, and what I've learned from experimenting since then. So the first thing I learned, which is perhaps also the simplest thing that I learned, is that sleep is really important. And I find that amusing because that is the first thing that you're likely to hear about this topic. But I guess there's a big difference between understanding something intellectually and really getting at an emotional, physiological level just how important and just how much of a difference it can make. And so the reason I'm emphasizing that in this video is because if you're struggling with sleep, if you feel like what you've got at the moment isn't really working, you're probably setting yourself a really, really low bar as to what success looks like. For example, the goal I used to have for myself was something along the lines of, wouldn't it be fantastic if I didn't have a migraine, I felt okay, and I wasn't in pain? That's a pretty low bar. That's basically, I'm really suffering here and I would like at least some or most of that suffering to go away. And that's great. That's kind of like a first step. But what about after some of those crisis things have been averted? What if I could actually feel good most of the time, as opposed to feeling okay in not too much pain some of the time? So I guess all that is essentially saying, I just didn't realize until I started to come out of it and things started improving a little bit. I just didn't realize how serious the situation was and how bad things were. And so maybe this is the case with all really difficult, stressful situations in life. It's almost like a two-step process. Get out of the crisis first to then stabilize. I'm laughing and I'll show you why I'm laughing in a minute. To stabilize the situation so that you can then start to optimize the situation. So the reason I'm laughing is because I accidentally used very similar language to the title of this book here, which is called Out of the Crisis, which has nothing to do with this topic. It's an industrial engineering book by the guy who basically invented lean manufacturing. But he has a really good point. Before you can optimize a process, we need to stabilize the process so that small changes can lead to incremental improvements. So for me, I like data, and so having something like a sleep tracker was really helpful for that. I got a baseline, I could try and stabilize it and standardize it to some degree, so that then when I implemented relatively small changes, like wearing an eye mask, for example, I had both data and subjective experience to look at when trying to figure out what effect it had. So one of the things I learned very early on is there's a big difference between time in bed, sleep opportunity, versus actual hours of sleep. In other words, quality matters, which meant that I could focus on training my body to know when to sleep and how to sleep. And this leads us to the second really big thing that I learned, which is that routine is everything. I go through this a little bit in my emotional intelligence course, but essentially our bodies are automatically reacting all the time. For the most part, my body regulates itself, and my job is essentially to help that process work well and work with it rather than trying to fight against it. So an example of working with that is getting up when I feel awake and going to sleep when I feel tired, and then building that into a personalized routine so that I'm both listening to my body and also providing it the stability in the environment so that it can optimize itself. The opposite of this would be deciding intellectually, this is the time I want to wake up, and forcing my body to wake up at that time, even if it's not ready for it, and deciding intellectually, this is the time I'm going to sleep, And oh, it's a Tuesday, so I wake up at 4 a.m. And oh, it's a Friday, so I get to sleep in till 10 a.m. This is very similar to a lot of really generic advice around sleep. But what I found made the biggest difference to me was ignoring one piece of really common advice. The standard advice is to fix your wake up time in the morning and make sure that's really, really consistent, and then let yourself fall asleep in the evenings naturally. That absolutely did not work for me at all. Instead, I didn't completely ignore that advice. I just kind of had to flip it around a bit. I found that if I focused on actually allowing myself to go to bed at a certain time, and by allowing, I mean not going out to dinner too late or watching movies till 3 a.m. or doing other things that would distract me and not allow me to say, oh, well, maybe I can just go to sleep now. And by being really, really strict about that, like no excuses, that kind of policy, suddenly I'm waking up 15 minutes before my alarm every day. I also have a really, really gentle vibrating alarm. So there's no like rude awakening, my alarm is going off. And also, if I want to sleep a little bit more, I just double tap it, it goes away. And then I might ask Google, I wonder if it's going to try and respond to me now. No, that's fine. Verbally, because my phone is, on my bedside table, and I will get it to set a timer for however long I want to sleep in for. And then I know that I won't oversleep. So by allowing myself just a tiny bit of flexibility, like 10 minutes or half an hour in the morning, I can listen to my body if it's in the zone and getting really good sleep and actually give it what it needs. In my previous video, I shared how I was learning about early morning REM sleep and how restorative that can be mentally. So again, to facilitate that, I use an eye mask in the morning. If I naturally wake up a little bit early before my alarm, or if I decide to give myself an extra 30 minutes, then I'll put on my eye mask, which is essentially as good as having complete blackout curtains. And very often that tiny little blip of being awake because I got vibrated awake until I stopped my alarm fades into the background in maybe 20 or 30 seconds and I'm back to sleep again. The other thing I've optimized through trial and error is the amount of sleep that I get. This varies from person to person, but again, looking at the data, I could start to notice when was I waking up by myself and feeling reasonably refreshed. And this is like a double psychological boost, because if I look down at my phone and it tells me that I've had a full night's worth of good sleep, then I know that the best strategy for me that day is to wake up and do things and push through. Having more sleep when I've already had enough sleep gives me no additional benefit. On the other hand, if the app is telling me you've had about an hour less sleep every night this week, then it feels like it's easier to justify my subjective experience and say, actually, I am really tired. Actually, I am going to have a 1.5 hour nap this afternoon. Or actually, I am going to take the rest of the day off. So honing in that window of when is the ideal amount of sleep for me, which means that I don't have too much or too little, kind of gives this buffer of a solid baseline, which means if my routine is severely disrupted for 1 or 2 days, it's not such a big deal. And this leads me to the third lesson I've learned from all of this, which is it's not just about sleep. When I say sleep, it's not just sleep routine. It's not just morning routine or evening routine or sleep hygiene or anything like that. Maybe a better word instead of routine could be lifestyle. What's my life routine that sleep is a part of? Without a reasonably stable life routine, how am I going to get a stable sleep routine? They also say, and I found this to be true for me as well, that if you have something you're looking forward to doing in the coming day, then that's a big factor in terms of your sleep quality. So how do I create a life routine where I'm looking forward to Monday morning and I'm looking forward to Friday afternoon? That sounds almost a little bit idealistic when I say it like that. How could you actually be looking forward to every moment in your week? But in a similar way to this optimizing strategy that I've been using with sleep, I think it is possible to get at least closer to that. For example, how do I look forward to work on a Monday morning? Well, my strategy is put all of my favorite work tasks on a Monday morning and do them first in my own time, however I feel like it, completely fresh at the start of the week. And it works. I literally look forward to Monday morning. And then after the reasonably energizing tasks that I actually like doing, I then do all the really boring, annoying admin tasks that I really don't like doing. Still relatively early in the week when I have the energy for it. And then with the two most important things already done, I can work on everything else until my energy eventually runs out, and then it's the end of the week. Yay! I look forward to having that break where I've clearly done something that I feel productive, and then that's it. Turn off for a couple of days. I've personally found that because of the type of work that I do in terms of this kind of relatively creative content creation and life coaching and other kind of training stuff, always working with information and people and ideas, that's pretty intense, and I need about 3 full days for my brain to actually have the time to recover properly. And this is where we start crossing over with the strategies to avoid burnout. Optimizing my sleep routine is only one of the strategies in putting an entire lifestyle together that is actually sustainable. If you've seen some of my previous videos about this on this channel, I've been attempting to do that for a while with not all that much success. Last year, I was so burnt out, I had to take 4 months off entirely. So the lesson from this sleep is in the context of a lifestyle concept is that sometimes life is just really, really hard. Like 2 years of lockdown through COVID, for example. Like the stress of a job or having kids or other kind of really big life things. So I found that addressing those kind of life crisis things first enabled enough stability to even think about getting my sleep routine better than just good enough. On the burnout front, for example, if I do too many things, there's just no way to juggle them all. It's not about finding a better strategy, it's just literally impossible to juggle that many things for me. So this year, for example, I'm deliberately doing less, and kind of ironically, one way to do less is to do more. So I've committed myself to writing a book this year, and in a bit of a weird way, committing to that has allowed me to let go of a lot of other commitments, and ironically, now my schedule is much freer than it has been in any of the previous years up until this point. Which personally suits me really well because it's a lot easier to focus and put a lot of effort and time into one thing than it is to kind of scatter my attention over 100 different things and have any chance of doing them well whilst maintaining my sanity and not burning out at the same time. So I don't know if this is a fourth lesson or just more like a summary of putting all of the other things together, but the overall message that all of this has taught me, essentially, is that I can't rush, and that if I feel rushed, if I feel stressed, if I feel like I don't have enough time and I'm doing too many things, then that impacts sleep, it impacts mental recovery, it impacts emotional health. And very often, if I feel rushed, it's probably because I'm doing too many things or attempting to do too many things. So in that sense, having such a heavy focus on optimizing my sleep routine has really helped with that. I'm starting to say things like, yes, I can come to this social thing, but I need to leave at this time because I have a bedtime. And you know what? It's actually fine. I can get the best of both worlds with a tiny bit of socializing and still keep my sleep routine at the same time. And if that's not working for me, I just say, okay, in that case, I'm going to prioritize the type of social event that I actually appreciate. And if that means never going out in the evening and only catching up with people who have the entire day off like I do on a weekend, then that's fine. Why would I want to rush my social time and go to 6 different events on the same day? How is that supposed to be relaxing for me? Anyway, I think I should leave it there. I feel like so much of this stuff is just common sense that is not so common, if that makes sense. So if I want to sleep better, I need to relax. And if I want to relax, I have to not be rushing everywhere. And part of not rushing is prioritizing that regular routine of relaxation time and preparing to sleep and telling my body what it has to do and when, so that it can count on being in bed at a certain time and my body can just regulate itself much, much, much more effectively. And this is, again, one of the more advanced goals of emotional intelligence. It's actually training our bodies to regulate themselves so that we don't need to constantly spend time and energy trying to manage it consciously. Anyway, what was my topic of this video again? Something to do with sleep, apparently. No excuses, optimizing my sleep routine. I'm going to leave it there. I hope you found this valuable and interesting. Oh, if you would like to try my sleep tracker, they haven't sponsored this video in any way. However, they give everyone a refer a friend link. So if you happen to want to try it, I thought it was a fun little experiment. It gave me a lot of really good insights, especially in the beginning. It's arguably overpriced in the long run, but I hope one day this type of technology will be available for everyone. So I'll leave that link below if you'd like an extra free month of that. I'm curious what your sleep routine is like. Are there other things that you've tried that I haven't mentioned in this video? How is that working for you? Please leave a comment below if you can. Otherwise, I better leave it there. So thanks for watching. I hope you liked this video and I'll see you again next week. Bye.